I don't have a PowerPoint, so you'll just have to listen to what I have to say. You heard very eminent speakers this morning talk about sensitization. And the climate certainly has changed for all of us in advertising, in media, in television, in journalism. What we put out as communication, it's become increasingly important for us to assess what we are saying, because as somebody said, it's the message that's being communicated, how we say it and how it's being consumed by the end reader, consumer, watcher, viewer is going to affect what they take out of our message. Now, a recent WHO report on violence and gender gives 7 points of intervention that can help change the current atmosphere of violence, right? So we don't just have to create awareness that there is violence in the system, that there's escalating violence about women, but we actually have to help create change regarding this kind of violence. And one of the interventions is media intervention. And I firmly believe, and I've said it often to my friends from various NGOs, that if we have the talent of the advertising industry, if we have the talent of journalists, if we have the talent of the television industry on the side of changing the system, there's really a lot that can be done sensitively, in a way that sensitizes the communication that goes in. And I know all of you are going to work on a campaign. At the end of this workshop, there are people here who will be developing a campaign. So I hope some of these pointers will help. Now, having talked about sensitization, I'm going to read out an ad to you. Tell me what you think. And it's a dialogue between a man and woman. Man: Aisha, I want to try a new position. Woman: sure, I have 35 new positions. Man: I can sleep with you, but I can't marry you. Woman: it's okay, I'll find you a girl in the matrimonial ads. Man: wish every girl was like Aisha. I don't know how many have seen this commercial. It ran on air. It's for a Micromax chip. It's a Micromax app called Aisha. Okay, so it's an app that obviously helps you source names, does whatever it does. What do we think of it? Do we think it's insensitive? Do we think it's correct? Is it a politically correct statement to make? In the light of what's happening, what do we think of this ad? And I don't think whoever created this ad, I don't think the team that sat in a creative department who created this ad sat down and said, I want to be gender insensitive. I want to create stereotypes. I don't think anyone even thought about it. Somebody said, let's do an ad, let's do something that's different. It sounds creative, it gets a smile on everybody's faces. Let's get on with it. Hopefully it'll win an award down the line. And this is exactly the mindset that needs to be changed, because nobody's setting out to do these things. Certainly, I don't think people in advertising are setting out to create stereotypes, but inadvertently along the way this happens. Now understand, there's been an account planner, there's been a strategy director on this, somebody's created a positioning, somebody's created a product, somebody has sold it, somebody's written a script, somebody has bought it, somebody has put it on air. And somebody has run it on air, and at no point has there been anyone who's objected to this. So we need to start thinking about what we create and how we create it. On the other hand, let me give you a more positive example of something that's been done in the US. There's a group called Gorilla Girls, and they formed an anonymous group. They wear gorilla masks, so you never know who these women are, and their agenda is to take on the mindset that keeps women from participating, from being visible in the art world. Now, they're very clear about their agenda, and their manifesto is written. Their manifesto is that women must not be stereotyped by the media as either bitches or ball breakers or bimbos. Okay, they're very clear. It's a strong agenda, and they follow the agenda. They wear their masks, and they hijack every art event that happens. They don't hijack small art events. They hijack big events. They go to the Tate Modern. They go to the Metropolitan Museum. They go wherever there's a big art event, and they lobby for representation. They do terrific ads. Please go to their website and see great ads, great posters, and that's their agenda and that they're doing. So communication is not necessarily that one print ad you do, or that one campaign that you'll do. We've got to start thinking of different ways to engage with the end consumer that we have. There's another ad, again, not such a sensitive ad. I haven't personally seen this ad, but I read an Economic Times report on this ad for Chiat tires. Again, as I said, bear in mind, nobody sets out to be insensitive. People are probably doing it because that's the way you think. There's an ad where a guy goes to see a girl, and she is not tall enough. She has a squint, and he says, I want 10 lakhs as dowry. It's an ad that's running. Chiat Tires is a really big company. Who let that ad go? Who ran the ad? Who approved the ad? And who talks about dowry? I thought that was behind us. In one of the issues that's behind us, dowry 10 lakhs? I mean, in which world was the copywriter who wrote this ad living? Who writes ads like that? I mean, it's not even contemporary. The issue, the way it's been treated, and yet that ad ran on TV. So again, we need to start sensitizing ourselves, and we need to examine every product. If you're a creative director, examine the product that goes out of your agency. If you're a CEO, if you're somebody who runs a television channel, perhaps you need to look at the kind of, we wait for self-regulation. We wait for somebody to complain to the 3 A's of I or to the ad club. But let's just self-regulate by looking at work that goes out of our own agencies. There's another ad for Volkswagen, but I'll just go into the next one, which is, it's this tightrope between sensitivity and stereotyping. Has everybody seen this campaign called Be a Soldier? Okay, if you haven't, I'll just tell you what the campaign is. It's a campaign, and hats off to Gillette. It's a big brand that has put its money behind doing a campaign in the wake of the Delhi violence. In the wake of the escalating violence, they said they have to do something that includes men, and Gillette is a brand that talks to men. Now, the campaign says, be a soldier, but be a soldier not to defend the borders of your country. Be a soldier to stand up for women and respect women. Now, on one hand, the heart and spirit of this campaign is in the right place. It's the right thing to say. But do we want protectors and defenders? The time has gone for men to stand up and be protectors and defenders. That's a patriarchal stereotype. Do we really need that? Everyone, do we need communication that says respect women? We've been saying respect women for 5,000 years. Mohan Bhagwat of the RSS will tell you, if you speak to him, that he respects women. The point is, you can't communicate and leave it at that. You cannot have communication that might have some kind of stereotype. You've got to be a little more sensitive. And as I said, this campaign, heart, spirit, everything in the right place. A really well-made ad. But if they just close the loop of communication, I think they'd have done much more in creating the right communication, of including men, of doing something about violence. They'd have done a little bit more than just leaving it at be a soldier. I mean, even soldier is such a loaded word. Soldiers are raping women in Kashmir. Soldiers are raping women in the Northeast. What are we sending out? Again, what are the subliminal messages we send out? Do we think about it? And again, as I said, everything in the right place. It's wonderful that a big brand wants to put money behind it. It's wonderful that some creative team has done a very good ad about it. But if they'd only close the loop. And anything you want to do in public service, please see that there's a call to action and there's something actionable that people can do. There's no point saying, if you say corruption is bad, we all agree. So you won't change anyone. No mindset, no system. If you say respect women, we all agree. Nobody will oppose you. But what is it that you want to change? Be very clear in the communication. And I'll give you an example of a campaign that was done earlier on domestic violence. It's the Bell Bajao campaign. I don't know, again, if anyone saw it. So it's based on a very simple insight. If you intervene at the time of violence, you might stop that violence from escalating. Now, the issue is that nobody wants to intervene because it's a domestic issue, it's behind four walls, it's a personal issue. What I liked about the Bell Bajao campaign is that they gave you a very simple way of intervention. Go and ring a bell. You don't even have to identify yourself, but ring a bell when you hear, find ways of doing something that can change that situation, that changes the atmosphere of the situation. You won't be able to stop the violence, but at least for that moment, you can intervene. And then perhaps it'll give somebody, time to find a solution to it or call for help. So that's Bell Bajao. That was done with an NGO called Breakthrough. And we really need to see how the communication in any public service ads, as I said, completes the loop. If we don't complete the loop, we've left too much left. Everyone needs action points. Everyone needs action points that can work in their own comfort zone. Because not everyone can leave their jobs, not everyone can change their lives, not everyone will walk away from what they're doing. And this is really the paradox that we operate in. On the one hand, you're creating ads where you're selling stuff that might be consumerist, that might be selling stereotypes. On the other hand, you really want to make a difference and change the way people view things. Here's another campaign, and again, as a counterpoint to the Be a Soldier campaign, this is a campaign which the California Public Health Department did. Again, including men in the whole discourse on violence. The campaign theme was, "My strength is not for hurting." But it wasn't, but it was an introspective campaign. It was about men who were doing this and who were pledging not to do it. They weren't protectors. They were just saying, I'm going to stop rape because I won't do it. And it targeted date rape. So they had very strong headlines which brought issues to the fore. One line said, when she says no, I say it's okay. And date rape has been a huge issue in the West. Another said, when I wanted to and she didn't, we didn't. So the campaign tagline reads, men can stop rape. And any of you who want to see the campaign, it's really well documented, great case studies up on www.mystrength.org. There's another campaign that's been done. It's been done again. It's a gender sensitization campaign with a tagline, we are different, we are equal. And often when we do communication directed at women, when we do communication on violence, we are using the same patriarchal norms. But the point is women are different. Our reactions are different. We choose to be different. We will react differently. If I'm a woman creative director and I want to weep if somebody has rejected my campaign, that's me. I'm a woman. Don't judge me as less because I do the things that are womanly. So again, we are different, we are equal. How can we create communication that actually makes people think? Think beyond their own comfort zone. And of course, if you don't get a chance to work on this great public service campaign that will win you awards and change the system, what do you do in your own lives as creative people, as conceptors, as copywriters, art directors? How can we look at our own scripts, Somebody raised those issues, right? There were lots of issues raised in the morning session. Why must all women always serve tea? I'm always fascinated by how many ads have women serving tea. I understand television commercials, television serials. Television serials have lots of serials I see where very affluent families, where the women are standing behind while the men sit at the dining table and eat. I mean, who does that? And even if people are doing that, must you depict that? Must you, is it possible as a television scriptwriter to give an alternative script? It is possible. But must you do, ads where people are constantly serving tea? There's a Cadbury's commercial, and there's Cadbury's which did this wonderful commercial of a girl running across a cricket field many, many years ago, which broke a certain stereotype. And the same brand has done a commercial where there is this girl who's making tea, her elder sister's in the kitchen. It's a very sweet commercial, on the face of it, great idea, great platform, everything sweet. Surely O&M, with all its creative talent, could have found a situation that was a little more contemporary. The little girl is going to take tea because a guy's come to see her. Which world do we live in? This happened 100 years ago. We can change those situations. Why must all mothers-in-law and daughters-in-law fight? Why should we always sign off with male validation? Is it necessary? It may not be necessary. A male client said it to me once, He said, Geeta, why have you presented a script? And I thought I'd presented a script. It was a very cute little, sexual banter between the man and woman. And this guy turned around and said, but must you have that? Is it necessary? And it wasn't. We just dropped the man at the end of the script. But, we are so set ourselves that we don't think. It doesn't matter. Those things are not necessary. The brand will still sell. The product will still do what it has to do. Why must men, if you look at male grooming ads, why must men get all the chicks? But when a woman uses a beauty product, she only gets a husband. Or she gets a boyfriend. We might want to get many men, why not? So let's look at what we ourselves, and we are all equally, part of it, and none of us are better or worse, we all make the same mistakes. Why don't men also make bowls of soup, Maggi noodles, open up Kellogg's for breakfast? These are low-life things. It requires no skill to open a packet and serve it, right? So why can't we just have more men doing those things? Why is it always the guy who goes to see the girl still after so many years, even though it's an arranged marriage situation? Yeah, why is it always happening? Why don't we just have women, with smarter, sassier, more humorous lines? And we're all equally to blame, right? We are writing the lines. So why aren't women doing, better lines, more Tina Fey? Why can't we have those kind of lines? When you see men, they're wonderful. You see nerds, you see geeks, you see these cool guys, you see these grungy guys. But as someone said in the earlier commercial, you want little girls to be clean, and we want women to conform to a certain stereotype which we perpetuate. So let's start thinking a little, and let's start seeing what we can do. The big public service campaign may or may not come our way. We may not be able to take on the whole issue of violence, but certainly in the scripts we write and on the everyday, these are the things we can actually do ourselves. And we can certainly use our own positions of power. If you're, and again, this doesn't mean you're a woman, you use your position of power, but if you're a man, you use your position of power with the same way that, the same way a woman can use it. And I have to give you an example. I worked at Vogue for 4 years, and I was very impressed with the editor who said, and Vogue is a luxury magazine, fashion, often gets feminist ire for many things it does. But the editor was clear. She said, I want to talk about dark-skinned women. Nobody talks about it, and I want to write an editorial, and I want to do a cover story on it. And there was a lot of debate in the conference room. There was some debate about, is it tokenism? Are we just doing it for the sake of doing it? Somebody else said, but advertisers, are there advertisers, and, Vogue just runs on advertising. And what should we do? But she was adamant, and she was the editor, and she ran one. It was called The Dawn of Dusk, and it celebrated the fact that more and more models, that people were using dusky women. It celebrated the fact that there were ads which had dusky women. And it was somebody who could do it because she was in that position. So again, let's use our positions of power to look at what we are doing more sensitively. There's another campaign in Australia, which is the White Ribbon Campaign, and it talks about men making pledges. But what it does, it goes one step further. Organizations get their employees to pledge. Now, these are actual, active, real things that you can do in your organization. Men actually pledging to help end the violence. And with action points. You can, again, see this campaign online. These are all case studies, all up there very much. But the last leg of what I'm going to say is really organizational sensitivity. We can talk about the great film we'll write and the communication we send out, but how gender sensitive is the organization we work in, and how willing are we to make a change? And I don't know how many I see. There are some CEOs certainly in the audience. And really, how much are we committed? Every company has great HR policies. If you are today's company and you're linked to an American parent group, or you're linked to any international parent group, you will have very strong HR policies on sexual harassment. The only thing is that nobody tells you about them. So as a woman in the company, you really don't know, at which point you can raise a hue and cry. You don't know as a woman whether if you complain, you will be reassigned, so you'll just be moved out of the team, or whether the person who's harassing you will be made to resign. Now, these are important differences, and as women, as men, we must see that we ask these questions. And the idea of organizational sensitivity is not about hiring more women, because I think certainly advertising and media has no shortage of women at the entry level, certainly no shortage of women. But as you go up the line, we need to see that we have more women visible in places of power. When I joined advertising, I was telling Kaushik this, when I joined advertising, all the powerful people, creative directors in advertising, were women. So, my whole, it was a different stereotype, but my whole stereotype was women. And there were very powerful CEOs who were women. And now if I look around and do an audit, I can't even think of a single woman CEO, correct me if I'm wrong, who's a woman. Very few national creative director, chairman/chairman of companies who are women. And it's almost as if the paradigm has shifted in a totally different direction. Now, there could be many reasons for it, but worth thinking about. And what is the organization doing? And what are we doing in telling our organizations to do something? If we set HR policies, then we need to educate people about what is sexual harassment at the workplace. I'm sure if we did an audit, a lot of women wouldn't be able to answer that. What is inappropriate touching? What are inappropriate questions during interviews? I've often had girls who've come back to me to tell me about the kind of questions they were asked when they went for interviews by very senior men in advertising. What do we feel about obscene language? Now, sensitization doesn't mean sanitization. We don't want to clean our wonderful advertising environment where curses and epithets fly around the place. That's part of it. But we still need to see that, lewd language, obscene language can't become the norm. Personal comments, do we want personal comments? I'm sure you read about Keith Vaz, the Labour MP. He tweeted about some woman looking thin, and he got so much ire. And the point is that that same sense of activism, consumer awareness is coming into this country. So people are very actively involved at criticizing you if you sort of, rock the boat a bit. Discrimination, do we find that more and more women, again, HR directors, CEOs, are women being shunted into woman-appropriate brands, right? As creative directors, you are able to do anything. That's the basic definition of being a creative director. But are you being put into brands? Are you being put on baby foods? Are you being put on diapers? Are you being put onto products and services that are considered more woman-oriented? And if you are, then we also know that those are not the ones that will win you awards. Being on those businesses will not win you awards. And that perpetuates a cycle of the great male creative director, award-winning creative director, whereas, somewhere women seem to be left behind. We don't see as many women out there as we should. And lastly, what is the CEO's commitment? You can have HR policies, you can have organizational policies. What is the CEO going to do if something happens? What is the stance you're going to take? And I'll leave you with an example. Neil French, who is really one of the most creative directors I've met, made a very sexist comment at a public gathering like this. It was Advertising Women of New York, or it was the Advertising Club of Canada, one of the two. And he said something really sexist about women at the workplace, and to the effect of, there'll be no creative director, women creative directors are not good enough because they take time off to have babies. Okay, not the exact quote. I think he was a little more obscene when he said what he did. The company, the chairman of the company is a woman, Shelley Lazarus, clamped down immediately. Within 24 hours, he was not allowed to speak publicly at any forum. And he resigned. He was asked to resign. Now, for an organization to lose a creative director of that caliber, I mean, he was outstanding in his work. And in all fairness to Neil, I must say that he was democratically provocative. He said things about men and women which were as provocative and as sexist. However, he chose to say it in a forum that was not appreciated, and the organization saw to it that he left. Now, how many organizations will do that? How many organizations are willing to pull up a male creative director or any man who will stand up and say it? Would it have happened if Shelley Lazarus wasn't a woman? If it had been a man, would he have taken Neil aside for a drink and said, okay, control yourself next time? Lie low for a few months and let's get on? I don't know. But the point is, if the organization doesn't commit to it, nothing's going to happen down the line. If the CEO doesn't commit to it, nothing will happen down the line. That's all I have to say right now. Questions later. Thank you very much.